This is Venator Site 5 in lean, and I think this is the bear with a lizard to the left on the south fork of the Malheur, which is right here. And the other 4 sites are down the river in that direction. Okay, we're still at Venator Site, what was it, 5? And Leon's pointing obviously to this red oval shape here, and then moving along to the next panel. There are several that are a bit difficult to see. And the one down at the bottom.
Something there. Something all the way down there. There's one there. And there.
And then moving over to the next panel where there's a rocking A with modern day graffiti. There's one right there, and another P shape down here.
I just saw something.
Okay, there's a very indistinct crow's foot up at the top here, right there. And then this snake is very, very difficult to see. And
about 3 different colors of red. And there's a rather long something.
And then right up above your hand there.
That's, and then a very faint something in there.
And then just to the left there's
Something.
like an anthemorph or something.
And then down here.
And this is a case where calcination is
Calcification.
Calcification, okay, is definitely a problem. Where even on these panels, over here on the facing rock, there's a very nice zoomorph there. Down below. And here's a case where either spalling up here in the upper left has spalled off, or it could have conceivably been vandalized. Some dots up above there, and then a very indistinct formation down here, a couple of circles, and which kind of echoes this one up above here, actually, come to think about it, with the 2 circles and the outstretched arm kind of thing. And then down below are 2 very well preserved lizards.
Horned lizards.
Horned lizards.
There's one
And
next to it.
once again, the calcination is...
There's the dots they were talking about.
Indeed. We almost let those slip by us. But how many dots were there?
I forget.
76, 56 in a 4-inch circle. Those are fading quite rapidly. There may have been something down here as well. And then here's something that's very indistinct. And then moving around the panel at the top is a comb of sorts. Very, very bright pigment. And then this oval with several divisions, which we might note is right by a pretty good sized crack here. And then moving to the left a bit are these 3, including this quite indistinct one there. This is probably Veneter Site 3. This one's very indistinct in the middle of the frame here. A lot of bird's nests made out of mud hanging here. And then on this outcrop here, there are two quite indistinct images. That being the uppermost, and then the one down here. They're very, very, very difficult to make out.
Hello.
In here. Well, you can get the pictograph there, will you?
Yeah.
And then up here, kind of like 3 or 4 lines there.
Don't you?
And I think this is the South Fork of the Malheur, and that other creek runs into it up there. So that'd be the confluence up there. And there should have been some across the creek over there, one of the sites, but we looked pretty good and weren't able to spot it. Very close to here, I almost tripped over this iron stake. And wrapped around it was this piece of aluminum, which reads site number 84. I don't know if there's something else written there or not. I can't make it out. Anyway, this is by these, or in front of these. We'll have to check and see if this is maybe the Loring's, something Loring's left. This is on the reverse. This is on the reverse side. And it looks like some lettering that just can't quite make it out. But it would precede the site number. Of course, I'm going to put it back where I found it. As I found it. You see this stake laying on top of a rock, and look over here just a few feet, and here's a tag, another aluminum tag. This one appears to say SWAS, maybe, number, S number, site number. It looks like 137. So now, of course, the dilemma becomes, what do I do with this? So I decided to move the stake from up there, plant it right at the base, and put the aluminum back around it about 2 feet from where I found it. And there would appear to be 3 images here, which is probably number 4 or number 5, although they're quite different. This is the most distinct one, and this one's very, very faint, and this one over here is barely there. Can't make out an image, but almost assuredly is man-made. This is getting real close to the railroad bridge. This site is across the road from Bentley Springs, about 8 miles or so north of the French Glen Round Barn. And we found a couple here so far. Quite interesting. And this, the BLM archaeologist turned us on to. As far as we know, it's not a officially recorded site by anyone. There's one here too. This almost looks like a bow and arrow guy.
Here's another one.
Anthropomorph, huh? Well, that looks to me like it's scratched and modern. Yeah, the bow and arrow. Big circle up above this big panel.
Dots there.
And this is moving from east toward west on the site.
Was there one up
I think, but it's pretty indistinguishable.
There's some up there too. The sky's going to be too bright though.
More than likely. This is what we're saying here. Another one? Well, they'll freeze when you do that until you can locate it. Night shot. I don't want night shot. Take the lens cover off, Russell. This is in Peter French's round barn. 35-foot tall juniper in the middle, supported by, yeah, fuck, no, oops,
Oh, did you have it on?
yeah, one of them swallows' nests up there in the rafters, and then this interior of it's a stone structure. The whole thing's probably 50 feet in diameter at least. Kinds of brands carved on the sides of the door here. Looks like there's a lake, and it does get up here on occasion.
Oh, colder, Newt.
Well, that's a horrible place to take a picture. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, my.
A whole bunch of shingles. This site is south of Peter French Round Barn, by these ruins called, locals call Coontown Ruins, and across this bridge, and then the petroglyphs, etc., are along this ridge, short ridge. This is an anthropomorph, about a foot tall, it looks like. A series of dots and lines. Possible snake up above on this one. And this image is roughly a foot high by 18 inches wide or so. I'll give you a still image of that. Well, this anthropomorph is rather lightly abraded, and I suspect maybe modern. At least it's not as, certainly it's not as heavily pecked as these dots. Got something down here. I'm not sure if that's maybe an initial or a brand or something. And down below there, equally is pretty questionable in here what that might be. Here's some relatively modern graffiti of 1891. I don't see any images near it. And this is currently being used as a cow pasture, which is not the greatest preservation management program. Hardly worth film, but the video will work. This appears to be a circle on this flat side and up here. Kind of a judgment call on that, but here's some more relatively William Powers, 1892 it appears. And there may be an image down here below it, possibly. I don't know what all this says. Can make out a few letters. We're not done yet. That one's pretty lightly abraded, and as Leanne just said, it's kind of questionable. It looks more modern to me and her, but it's about 4 inches in diameter, roughly. Got to me here.
It's two
Anthropomorphs.
or some such with legs. Each one's got a set of legs.
No arms, though, it looks like.
The only reason I recognize it because it says boulder, so I'm wondering if maybe this is another spot one.
Well, we didn't look on those up there, but on the other hand, there does seem to be quite these rock walls. Wow, there's a big white bird over there. May have been hunting blinds, because here's water where animals would have come down, and that's within bow range. If they waited for them up there to come down through here, that's what this is interesting. He's over there quite a little ways. In fact, it would appear to go from over there. Well, this wall goes more or less around this doggone area here. This is on the trail to the island that Tim here and I have been inching our way up here for a while. And this would be the Deschutes arm we're looking up there, I think. Yeah, because the Metolius comes in down there, I guess. We're not far from civilization as the crow flies, but so far I haven't seen any rock art. These are some balanced lakes or rocks over by Fly Creek, was it?
Yeah, Fly Creek and Ocean.
Up above the Metolius.
You don't mind standing on the edge. There's one right here.
This is north of Smith Rock State Park. In fact, this may actually be in the park over where I'm shooting. But that's a pretty good sized boulder over there. The river down below here. Tim Day and I are previewing some slides that were taken over the years, mostly down in Lake County. These slides were taken by Melvin Adams, and we're converting them digitally and showing them, and so that's what we're up to. And we figured, since we had so many insights into these things on first seeing them, that we'd just record that for your viewing pleasure. And so thus, I don't think I took a picture of this one already, I don't think. Maybe I did. We'll get another one just in case. Okie dokie. And Tim's doing a real fine job of moving the slides right along through here. You could probably kill that light behind you though, or up above you, if you had a notion. Thank you. Oh, I got this damn flash. I'm gonna have to take that again. I gotta quit swearing on tape. There, that'll work. That's a cool rock though.
It was. A pregnant lizard.
There's the one that's right across from Plush down there. That's a nursing antelope. It's got a little baby underneath, and it's obviously nursing.
Wow.
That's an awesome image. Well,
It's labeled as cupules.
that's what I'm thinking. Once again, it's kind of hard to tell. Well, there's the size of the lichen down here, so that must tell us a little something about the size here. But
Not sure what it
it
is.
certainly looks like cupules.
It's either Earth or Mars.
Yeah. Well, I think you know. I mean, in many places, these cupules were rain symbols, but a lot of times they're associated with fertility places for women.
Oh.
And I read something somewhere about they'd like grind the powder out of these rocks and then eat the powder, which may have been an early vitamin pill or something, or to give these women some minerals they needed to,
Of course.
you know, while
Iron.
they were birthing. Yeah,
Iron's
iron.
very important.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
Put the same one back in there, did you, Tim?
Yeah, he got another picture of it.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
He was thorough. Now that's the end of Campbell Lake.
Okay, cool. So what? Okay, so I'm going to take a photo blank. Okay, and then the next one will come to.
We are coming to Colvin Lake.
This is one the Lories don't have. I'll be really awesomeified to see these.
Absolutely.
Wow, those are old.
Huh.
Old. I mean, it looks like all this down in here
It
has
appears
been
that way.
packed, and it looks wide.
Extremely wide.
I mean, if we're looking at the grass, I mean, that's wide. That's probably,
Incredibly wide.
I'm thinking 3/4, maybe even an inch. Holy cow.
Wow.
I can't quite picture in my mind, but I saw on his map there where this place is. But this is, well, that is plus all this seems to be spalled off in here. Unless that's just spalling, but I don't think so. And this certainly isn't by
It's a
any
little too
stretch of the
uniform.
imagination. Yeah. Well, you got the lines coming down through here, which, and maybe a line here, and perhaps here.
That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah. And probably even like a circle here. Plus there's a lot, no, well, I don't know, it could be a continuation of this line goes all the way across here.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Unique.
Indeed. sometimes I mess with the focus on this one. It's only a good one to know if this actually helps or not. This one is running forward. That focused a little better, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of know that this isn't doing the slides total justice, but the battery's low. Shit. Well, maybe you could turn that light on and suspend the thing to turn the bulb off for the time being while I get some batteries here. I suppose I could probably pause this video while we have a technical break here. Let's see. Stop. Okay, we're back. Just a little bit out of whack here. And I forgot to turn off the flash. That should do it. Okay, we're good to go. Memory's full. Shit. Okay, well, let's kill that light, leave the fan running. You know what? I have never used the built-in memory on this thing, so I think all I have to do is move that chip out of there, and it should give me a considerable bunch more memory. I mean, to the best of my knowledge, I've never used it, because I've always had a chip. Well, since the chip is full, I think I'll take it out, and these things are so goddamn small. Right on the on-off button on the laptop. Okay, so it wasn't the batteries, it was memory. So let me see. Yeah. The lights are off and there's no one at home. Now we're good to go. That doesn't tell me I don't have any memory anyway. So what do you think of that slide projector, man? That used to be the way you had to do stuff.
Of course, they had trays that fit too.
Carousels, they had it all figured out, yeah.
Ironically, they were a little more high tech than we are.
Yeah, actually. Ironically. You're right about that.
We're trying to keep it real. I mean, it is rock art, so we gotta go a little primitive here.
There you go. All right, hit her, Jackson.
Okay. Turn this baby on.
There we go. Let's see. I don't think I got one of that yet.
No.
How'd I get
This one's
so
in-
much? What's going on here? I guess
Like something falling from the sky.
Oh, now battery is low. Fuck my mother-in-law. Okay, well I got 2 more batteries here. Whoops. Oh shit, I was saying that on film too. We're still here looking at slides, although you can't tell it from this view. Here we come. Alright, we're in Colvin Creek, was it?
Colvin Lake.
Lake. Wow, that's a nice one.
Nice
I
shield.
wonder if that'll focus on there.
A little.
Yeah. We're shooting again. Some people, this kind of thing like this, they think it may be like in medicine bags,
Oh.
perhaps. Shields, if you're over by Wyoming or something, shields is a possibility. Alright, we got 3 little circles going together down here. That's kind of interesting. Huh.
Make me wonder how often when I see circles, whether they're thinking about the moon or the sun.
Yeah, or any number of circular things.
True. There's several around.
Including cycles, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, this got to be a bed ground Matati, I'm thinking. With a heck of a big cheat seat up here. Or else some kind of a spider or something. I don't know, scorpion or something.
They look awfully small.
Yeah.
They weren't very hungry.
Them fish weren't too hungry up at the lake today either. But there was a full moon last night.
Yeah.
So Jill said they probably ate all night, so they weren't very hungry.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I
true.
guess that makes sense.
Not to mention the fact that lots of people feed them with their bait.
Yeah. That's interesting.
That's an incredibly straight
That's-
line.
Yeah, that's a big one too. Looks me like. Might be a little bit of memory full.
Oh wow.
Whoa, that's quite a wall.
Yes, it is.
You kill that light, probably help our perception here. Huh.
Very effective camouflage.
Yeah, that one wasn't very. But I would think that maybe, you know, people would even just build these walls kind of as a windbreak sometimes. I mean, that wind can howl pretty good, you
It
know.
can.
And even a little bit of breaking that up would be helpful, you know.
Yep. Yeah, good point.
Yep, I knew it was getting time to buy another gigachip of memory, and I just haven't gotten around to it. Now, what side are we still out here?
We have gone to Fisher Canyon. We have two
I
slides.
think that may be a non-recorded one too. Actually, I think I already took this one. 'Cause I just pulled something out of random. That's the first one. Yep. Yep. I pulled something out at random there.
Ah.
But that's okay. I look at these things more than once generally. Oh yeah, down in here. I had trouble
Okay.
spotting that at first, but there's all kinds of stuff going on
Yes,
down in
there
here.
is.
That's pretty typical design. This kind of zigzag thing's pretty typical. I don't see any. Oh, I see. It's got like kind of the perfect cave side. And what the? Oh, that's. Is that an artifact on my wall, or is that part of this picture? Yeah, that's part of both, I think. Because it goes away when I do that. Must be a fold in the cloth or something. But that's quite the cave. You have to wonder where that goes.
Definitely workable shelter.
I would think. Huh. Finally starting to cool down out there a little bit, I think.
The Fluke Lake.
As memory serves, that might be up on the Antelope range there, I think.
Yeah, no. Northeast of Refuge.
I haven't been there, I don't
Can't
think.
spot 'em yet.
Not much of a lake.
Don't bring your fishing pole.
No. Not unless you like dried fish. That looks like it might be the outlet to the lake there or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's why there's an awful lot of those lakes down there, though. Some of them have no water at all. Some of them just kind of a mud hole over there on the side.
Yeah, you can see drastic differences in just a few years sometimes.
I'm guessing that's lithic scatter.
Apparently so.
You might be able to miss us the.
Bunch of
That's-
bird poop.
Yeah, I mean, all these shiny spots have got to be lithic
Yeah,
scatter.
yeah.
I'm
They
thinking.
appear white, but they must be
Yeah,
obsidian in
that's
full
what I'm thinking.
sunlight.
Yep.
Okay, a new one Gravelly Crossing.
We tried to find that once, but you get down there, it's just south of, right, that little tiny town right before you can go, you hit 395 and go past Crump Lake.
Oh, Adele?
No, not Adele.
Oh, Plush?
No.
Oh, 390.
Oh,
Valley
if you-
Falls?
what is it?
Valley Falls?
That's the one.
Yeah. Right at the junction, yeah.
Yeah, this is just south of there a little ways, but the directions, we couldn't find it, but one of the 7.5-minute maps has got it pinpointed, so that'll solve that one.
Excellent.
Yeah, Gravelly Crossing, I guess, because I'm thinking it's kind of a swamp-like area there, or I mean, it looks like, you know, when there's water, it's really kind of a swamp, probably in the winter time, so I'm thinking Gravelly Crossing, that kind of makes sense. You could get across there, even though it was, you know. But there are some petroglyphs there, I think. Well, I'm pretty sure. Which I'm guessing we'll see here in a moment.
I bet they're here somewhere.
Oh my God, that looks like something in Europe. These concentric rings. A little bit hard to tell the scale there, but you know, judging by this grass back here, it's a ways away, but it looks like they got to be fairly, you know, 6 inches across. Maybe that bigger one would be my guess. But they're all over the place. I mean, it looks like
the more
there's,
circles there are.
yeah, there's one here, I think, one here. A couple of overlapped ones there, something maybe.
Surprisingly well preserved, considering the
Yeah.
fact that they're almost horizontal.
Yeah, it's kind of, yeah, that must be kind of a
I may be mistaken.
judging from the way this, and then the grass coming up there, I think it must be fairly flat there, yeah. Sometimes I have to wonder if they didn't use vugs, you know, as like the eye of something and then draw a head around it, you know?
Mm-hmm. That's what I thought when I first saw that. I was like, oh, it looks like legs down here, like a bug,
Yeah.
and, you know, a ladybug, something.
But that, the first thing that jumped out at me is like this cup and ring thing that goes on all over in England, especially over there, this cup and ring thing. It's fairly universal, but
You got a complete circle here and an empty circle there.
yep, I think you're right about that.
Nice.
And you gotta wonder if this is just spalling in here, or whether there was maybe a line that connects some of this stuff here too. And here's another circle right here, it looks to me like.
Yeah, that's why books like the Lorings are so invaluable. You're like, okay, I saw this, and what else is there? Oh, really? That's there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
excellent.
exactly. And that's why ultimately these pictures are valuable, you know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, show you what it looked like 40 years ago, or who knows
Yeah.
how long ago.
Well, I'm hoping to prompt the UCLA. You know, they're sitting on all of Loring's original photo. Wow, that's a weird one. All of Loring's original photos, and I'm hoping to prompt them to get those archived, just by giving them 2 or 3 sites that this guy's got, that I've got, and Loring's have got. If I get all 3 of those sets of photos together, then you'd be able to really do some detailed analysis of degradation and lichen and spalling and all kinds of things, you know.
Yeah, that's quite a
I think this
interesting.
guy just found an interesting rock here on this one. Although I suppose conceivably I could be red paint all over it, but
possible.
that,
Reminds me a little bit of that rock you found up there at
yeah,
Smith Rocks.
it does, yeah. Kind of a meteorite smoothed surface thing. Interesting.
I don't see too many of them like that.
No, I don't think so. Whoa!
Oh, yeah.
We're still at where?
That's the Gravelly Crossing.
Gravelly Crossing. Damn, I'm sorry, I missed that one.
Wow, even in the background. Excellent.
Oh yeah, over here. I didn't even see that at first. Holy cow. Sometimes when I see these figures on top of rock, this probably isn't high enough rock, but I think, well, somebody fell off this rock and died, so they kind of commemorated it because the head's down and the,
Oh.
and of course that looks more like a frog or something maybe, but there's a couple of places there that there's this figure that looks just like it's diving over the top of this rock, and I'm thinking, well, you know,
That probably would
guy
happen quite a
went
bit.
nuts and, you know, or fell over, or I don't know,
Yeah.
you know.
Hunting accident, what have you.
Yeah. This is pretty damn interesting here, though. This circle business going on, and
Oh yeah, that last one, it says paint site on it.
paint site.
Yeah, that
Oh,
that red
oh,
Yeah,
that was a gravelly crossing as well, huh?
yeah.
Hmm.
Whole lot of paint.
Now, see, this is a variation on this barbell thing that I'm determined to track down.
Uh-huh.
The thing that makes this interesting is the concentric circles down here. And this is a sun, obviously. I mean, we think obviously because what? When you're first grade, that's how you draw the sun, you know? So,
That's what it
but
looks
was that really the sun?
That's what it looks like when you squint at it.
Yeah. So, but and then see that here's another variation on the barbell theme of there are three circles joined by lines.
Yes,
Yep.
there
And well, this would be a stretch. There could be another barbell in here. Although certainly we've got another concentric circle going here with a line, and that's familiar somehow down there. I've seen that kind of an image before. And here again, we kind of have a repeat of that entirely pecked out circle connected to one that's not pecked out at all. Was that in this slide, or was that in one of the previous ones?
That was just, a couple slides ago, I
Yeah.
think. Just a couple.
But here's another well, here's another two circles over here, I think, that I hadn't
okay.
spotted until now.
Yeah, when you point them out, yes, they are there.
Yeah, they'd certainly.
There
I
may
mean, they're
be-
likened over a lot, and there may be a
rays
line.
over there, right in the edge. Right here.
That's conceivable, yeah.
Maybe somebody was predisposed or preoccupied with the movement of the sun or the moon, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then we got, these two down here that look like a pair of scissor handles or something. Interesting where that vug is, though, in relation to what all's going on there.
Yes, it is.
You have to wonder if this shadow. Look at this shadow. I guess that's a shadow. Down here at the bottom.
Looks like the edge of the rock.
The edge of the rock or shadow. There's some shadows falling. This looks like it was taken at straight up noon or something. Trying to find a shadow laying one way or another, and even this guy on top here doesn't.
I think we've got a little bit of shadow right here.
That's the thing that I was looking at. It's like, man, that is a pointer. So if the sun were coming from like this direction, then it would be conceivable that at some point during the year, that this point might be traveling across here, marking certain things. I mean, that's the astronomical thing that there are a lot of sites, but it's like this is kind of like a really definite finger. But since we don't know which direction this is facing, or even for sure if this is a if this is a shadow coming off of a rock back here somewhere, or whether it's just a shadow of the bottom of the rock here, I'm kind of starting to be inclined to believe that that's the case rather than a rock somewhere else. But it's the sort of thing that's, you got to be there like kind of like exactly at the right time of year to even notice, like you were talking about the Petroglyph Cave, that's supposed to be a solstice site,
Possibility.
Well, this thing is right by the highway. I mean, this thing is close. Real easy to find. But you get down there and there's channels going all over the place down there, crossing around, gravelly crossing. Hello.
One of many, huh?
Yeah. That is certainly more interesting than I expected that site to be.
Definitely like the circles. Yeah, like you say, that bug down at the bottom and the two circles connected above it.
This one here.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah.
Well, trying to.
I suppose it would be a pretty phallic symbol at some point.
That's what I was looking for.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. Yeah, that would be a kind of a distorted kind of a dude with his balls were about as long as the rest of it maybe, but nonetheless,
Enlarged to get the point across.
well, yeah, there could be that.
They had
that
a
amount
hard
of
life too. You never know.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah. Repeated slapping between rocks could have led to some pretty weird deviations there,
You
I
don't have the
suppose.
support that we have nowadays.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
that might do things to a man of 25.
Mm.
Okay, that's good. Gravelly Crossing. This is the last one at Gravelly Crossing.
Well, that's certainly a site of interest that's going to be seen. Whoa,
Wow.
whoa. Now, that's got to be fairly good size, too, if you consider that grass is probably at least 4 or 5 inches and probably hell a bunch more than that. And wide peck, too. That's going to be something that, I mean, these wide peck ones are definitely a different style than most of them down there. I mean, you find them pretty often wide peck like that, but I'm almost thinking at this point that there's kind of like, you could make a case for it being 2 entirely different styles, rather than just this guy had more time, so it was bigger. But the more I see of these things, the more I'm thinking that this is certainly a different time period, maybe, but
Yeah.
and in most cases that would be at least a different generation of the same people, and quite frequently I would think different peoples entirely. Well, once again, we get this circle motif going on now.
In the center there, it looks like a clock again. We had one of those earlier.
This,
Yeah.
yeah.
There you see the snake design. It's got, like you say, one empty circle. and
Well,
one full.
this would seem to be a head, I mean, that looks pretty obvious. What we get down to here is, I don't know. Once again, though, we got cracks in rocks, so that's becoming a cliche of sorts, I think. But nonetheless, if that was your cosmological belief that cracks in the rocks will lead into the underworld,
Yeah.
you're not going to wear that out in a generation or two.
No. Maybe occasionally a filled-in circle is an actual hole.
Well,
A dark spot.
that's what I'm thinking, I mean, this would certainly fit here. If this were the hole and the snake were coming out of it, it'd be kind of stylized if this was the hole the snake came out of. But if you abstracted that to say, okay, serpents come from the underworld, so,
Make plenty of arguments.
Yep.
Yeah, anytime I see them wide pecked like that, I always think, oh, well, that's got to be a lot older than what you typically see, but maybe not.
Well, they appear newer to me, but simply because they're more visible. You see what I mean?
It was a site that, for whatever reason, ritually needed to be repecked.
Well, yeah, there is certainly, if it was a rite of passage for every kid in the tribe when they turned 13, they had to go learn the way of the snake. There's a very good possibility for why maybe their pecs so much wider than, because they're a really, well, I'll show you Leanne's favorite one. It's wide peck like that, but it's kind of a trident sort of a thing. And it's hard to describe because it isn't really a trident, but it's peck wide like that. But I don't know, with this I get a real feel that the guy who made that one over that's at Long Lake, I think, made these as well. But that's a really interesting point you bring up, Tim, about the possibility of repecking. And I hadn't thought about it just being kind of a societal repetition thing, okay, if various generations of shamans came there to reinforce the magic, but could be something much simpler than that, that thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not do whatever, and it's like, hey, this is what the snake represents, you're going to learn this, go out here and do it again. Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting
We're full of
possibility.
ideas. We don't know if anything else, but
Yeah.
we're full of ideas at least.
Yeah, you know. I mean, everything's worth exploring as far as I'm concerned with this stuff. I mean, I think
Absolutely.
at some point,
The more you learn, the less you know.
there you go. But I can't help but think if you, once you've explored enough possibilities of stuff, at some point something's going to snap, and then there's going to be an understanding that you can actually demonstrate to be reasonably correct. I mean, obviously, there's, you know,
It'll be nice when eventually this gets taken seriously enough that they go ahead and have a database that gets perused by a computer to find similarities to the point
Analyze it.
that,
Yeah.
well, you know, we're starting to decipher some of this stuff just like we did Egyptian.
So, yeah, well, Mayan is a prime example of that. I mean, Mayan took 60, 80 years, and it's like, well, one guy came along and said, okay, this is how you translate Mayan. Well, for the next 50, 60 years, anybody who was trying to translate Mayan started using this guy as a base. Turns out 60 years later, somebody took a fresh look at it, and this guy was totally off base. So here's 60 years of people trying to mess with this that were thrown off by one guy's misconceptions. You know, I mean,
What a shame.
yeah.
Long route to the answers.
Mm. You tell me you get tired there, Tim.
Oh no, that's
That's a lot easier walking around trying to find this stuff
pretty
too.
cool. Oh yeah.
Not to mention that.
Doesn't cost near as much gas.
Yeah. Now I could bring one of these chairs over here, but I think you probably
I
wouldn't
think
work
this is
for you.
better.
But if you're okay with
No,
sailing
I'm
up,
just fine. Yeah, we got greaser petroglyphs.
there's greaser bait. These things are only like 13 miles. No, less than that, like 4 miles off of the highway.
Wow.
Yeah, these
That's cool.
these are awesome.
Barbells galore.
Yeah, not to mention this zigzag pattern going on again.
Double zigzags.
The thing that occurred to me, what if that barbell symbol is smoke? Because here we have a zigzag. Could that be a mountain? Here's smoke. Here's another zigzag. Here's another barbell. I think he's cut it off here. Could that be smoke? Because this is right where Mount Mazama blew up, right? So this is one of my theories about these zigzags. Wherever people go, there's going to be fire. Wherever there's fire, there's smoke. So if you've got that as a symbol, if you've got that smoke symbol, that means we camped here, right? We made a fire here, right? But when I've seen this in a couple of different places, I'm thinking, well, Mount Mazama goes off, there's going to be a hell of a bunch of smoke going on, you know. That's going to be notable. So how do you tell that? Well, it was coming out of the mountain.
Yeah.
And not only was it coming out of the mountain 50 years ago, it was coming out of the mountain here. It doesn't quite wash, because you would think that, well, I hadn't spotted that now, but this kind of makes sense. If, let's say, this lower one were earlier, look at how big this hump is and how tall this hump is here in relation to how tall this hump is here. Not to mention, I think that there's a pretty good similarity between the curve that makes this one and the curve that makes this one. We can't quite see back over here to see if there's a corresponding
Interesting.
thing there.
And they didn't feel satisfied with just doing a single zigzag. Those two zigzags to almost show depth, possibly.
Yeah. Now, of course, though, once I look at this, though, the proportion's been maintained between the size of this and the size of this. I mean, this is not appreciably, well, pretty even, but these are pretty even too. So I don't know. I don't think
I like
that's...
that idea of smoke. I never would have thought about that, but that brings me back to what I was talking about, that one petroglyph, that I said it was a circle, and then it had lines off to the side of it. I can't describe it totally because I don't have a real good memory of it.
Yeah.
But I thought, well, shoot, that's a dust devil.
I remember you talking about that.
And, you know, it's hard to, you know, how am I going to draw a cyclone on rock? Well, you know, I'll draw a circle and I'll draw some lines.
Yeah.
How am I going to draw a column of smoke on rock without it just looking like a straight line?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to draw
A puff here, and sometimes fires do that, you know, puff of smoke.
Yeah. It shows you that, well,
Because that symbol is so ubiquitous. I mean, it permeates the Great Basin. I mean, every place I've ever been in the Great Basin, that thing is there. But it just now occurred to me that it's kind of like Kilroy was here, or Brian was here. What was his name up there?
Oh,
Joel or something.
Josh, yeah.
Josh was here. Yeah.
absolutely.
That solution hadn't occurred to me before now. And then, of course, when you come up with the variations of there being pecked out, one of the circles, or both of them in some cases, are pecked out. Some of them are concentric. Some of them are, I don't know, that one's going to be going on for a while yet.
Yeah,
We certainly got some lizard business going on over here, though, haven't we?
they're quite full. of
They're
lizards.
all over the damn place.
Yep.
Except for this guy's no lizard. I don't know what he is.
Mystery.
Looks like an abominable snowman to me. But this is kind of I don't know if this little guy here is a lizard, or somebody didn't quite know how to make a lizard, or what's going on with that. And you have to wonder is this a scratched thing, or is that a natural sort of a little elk going on down there? That's the hard part of, and here, this looks like a lizard over which this has been superimposed, don't you think?
Say again?
I say it seems to be there's a lizard back here, but
I
this,
see feet now.
but
Well,
the-
maybe that's his feet though.
but this has been superimposed over that, but surely that little round thing
Yeah, it
there
looks
isn't
like a
natural. Yeah, it looks like a head. And in keeping with the tradition here, I mean, that certainly looks as much like a head as that.
Yes.
But that's one of the, once again, relative dating, you know, if this is superimposed over that, at least we know this is newer than that, you know.
Now, do you suppose these lizards are chalked? Or would it be a lot wider if they were chalked?
It would probably be a lot wider. No, I mean, from the photograph, I wouldn't surmise that. What site are we at again?
Greaser.
Ah. Yeah, oh, this Greaser site, you'll love this site. This is a beautiful site. It's like a really, some of these places are almost like rock enclosures that come around in front of them.
No kidding. Nice living room full of art, huh?
Yeah, yeah. And it kind of guards a place where you would, another tape. Okay. Like a battery and had a tape.
Oh, another.
This is, this is Greaser Boulder, though. This isn't Greaser,
Not canyon or lake.
no, Greaser Canyon, I think it is. This is Greaser Boulder. This one somebody tried to blow up and pack out of there.
Oh,
That's
wow.
why it's so fucked up, and you can see they kind of reconstructed it here, put
see.
it back together.
Uh-huh.
But somebody tried to bust that up and haul it off at some point.
Darn. For shame.
Obviously, couldn't get her done with a half-ton pickup.
Half-ton pickup and a couple cases of beer, wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, no, ain't gonna get her done today.
Okay, now we're seeing more up in the top here that we didn't get to see before.
Yep. And then let's see, what was the correlation down here between, what do we got, 1, 2, 3.5 peaks, and we got 1, 2, well, that's interesting. This is pretty pointed just exactly like that. I mean, that's pretty much the same angle. These other two are, but on the other hand, this guy's flat, you know, not pointed. This guy's definitely pointed, so maybe this was, oh, it started smoking, so that's pretty significant. Let's draw this, and then it's like, oh shit, it's still smoking, but the top of it's blown off down here because this is definitely pointed. This is definitely not pointed. These are pointed.
Yes, they were capable of making points. It's been proven
Yeah.
on that line.
Boy, I'm thinking that's, I'll write a paper about that, I guess.
Interesting.
That'd be in the Mount Mazama. I could build a case for that. But then on the other hand, we got this business going on in between here too. So that might mean rumbling earthquakes where the mountains were.
Significant rivers coming off of a steep mountain.
No, I'm thinking like earthquakes and earth